16 Minutes of Care is a podcast based on the CARE principles, a strategic framework that reveals how brands create impact by caring and, as a result, grow their business. In each episode, Isabel welcomes a company executive who explains how CARE has helped their business grow successfully and sustainably.
Sarah Müllertz is the founder of the ecological jewelry brand KINRADEN. She has an architectural background and her designs are strongly influenced by both Danish and Japanese design traditions. She launched her own brand based on a sustainable and circular business model. I'm very eager to find out and learn from this game changer in jewelry. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. I would first like to start with your personal conviction. Why did you start as an architect? Why did you start a sustainable jewelry brand?
It's been a journey. I've been very much in love with jewelry my whole life, and I've been in and out of the jewelry industry through my career as an architect. I love the small scale. It's like a sculptural scale. So doing jewelry felt natural to me. At the same time, within the community of architects, we've of course been working with the de-assembly theories and different sustainable approaches. So I wanted to embed that in the jewelry as well. So combining these two things emerged KINRADEN. So that's how I started and why it turned out the way it did.
How do you pronounce the brand?
KINRADEN.
KINRADEN. Okay, I think I said KINRADEN.
You can say both, actually.
Okay.
And I like that.
Okay.
If I speak Danish, I will say KINRADEN. If I speak English, I'll say KINRADEN.
Does it mean something?
Yes, KINRADEN means it's the oldest form of the word kindred or next of kind. It means that we are related. And I wanted to embed in the brand name that we are all related by each other's choices now. And I believe that. I believed that in 2014 when I launched the brand. We are interconnected with everything we do. So that's why it's called KINRADEN.
Okay, that's very nice. I didn't realize that. Could you explain what is sustainable jewelry? Because sustainability is a word that's been abused by many people. What does it mean, sustainable jewelry?
It means many things. It depends on which level. Do you concern the production, the materials, the environment? There's so many different layers to go into. First of all, you can never be 100% sustainable. If people say that, you need to be careful because I haven't seen it yet. But I try to be as gentle as I can. A sustainable jewelry brand is looking, first of all, of the material that you use. Can we source them in any sustainable way? Both where they come from, how they're produced, who works with them, how they're transported. That's a whole thing. And then we have the whole care system. How do we pack it? How do we ship it? How do we send it? Then there's a whole business strategy. Are people paid enough? So there are so many levels you can go into and look at sustainability. So hearing people just say it's sustainable, it's like there's so many levels to dig into. Mm-hmm. But for me, it has been more like a circular business strategy, looking into how do I source the metals? Where do they come from? Are people paid a salary? How is it produced? How is the environment around the producing procedures? How's the metal preceded? Can we reuse it again? How could we reuse it again? Could it be more sustainably reused? How can we decrease the waste that comes out of the production? Things like that. So it's a multifaceted circular strategy you look into, where you look at all different kinds of variables within your production line.
Totally. And it's a complex process, of
Yes.
course. Can we start with the metals themselves?
Yes.
You work with recycled silver and recycled gold.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Yeah, good question. It means that all of our gold and silver comes from reuse. When I started in 2014, not a lot was reused. Now nearly all silver is reused silver. Gold is reused as well. It comes from the tech and health industry, from the instruments within that two industries. There are two different places in the world that we gather, where they gather it, and we buy from that to our producers.
Oh, okay, so it's not like old jewelry in the sense that you inherited from your grandparents?
It could be, but it's quite a big thing gathering the metal. You have to... gold comes in different carat. 9-carat gold is filled with a lot of other metals, and then go up. 24 is the most clean form of gold. So if we take the gold, for example, we use 18-karat gold. And we use 18-karat gold because if you reuse it, it's the process that leaves the least dent on nature. You can't produce gold in 24 karat, it's too soft. If I did it in 10 or 8 or 9 or 14, it wouldn't be so clean. So the process of reusing it would be very much more polluting, so to speak. That's why we use 18-karat gold. Gold is used within the health industry in instruments for leading. So they gather this, and there can of course be different kinds of jewelry, but jewelry is many things. So when people say they have gold earrings, which kind of carat is it? Is it gold plated? Things like that. So there's a whole process of that. So they gather all the metal in centrals, clean it up, and you buy from them.
And you buy it from them.
Yeah.
But most of it comes from other industries, I
Yes.
understand. Okay.
Yes.
Your mission, the mission of the company is we are in business to create enduring beauty and make a positive impact on this wonderful planet of ours. How personal is this mission for you?
Very personal. I've been working as an architect for 20 years, and my field, my areas of expertise is design. And when you are born to create, and that's your passion, you want to create beautiful things, and you know that we have enough, we don't need to do any more. There's enough of cups. If you have a coffee cup, we don't have to produce one single coffee cup more, but you know that you will always desire more things, you will always want to buy new things. So my mission was to do that in a more gentle way. And of course jewelry is my great passion. I think it's a beautiful thing to wear, and I love the longevity in the metal that you use, and you can inherit it. I love the whole thing about the gifting. You give it, it's often a gift by love. So having that and enduring that was like, yeah, the combination of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally, totally. But how do you balance it out? Because you're trying in everything you do to be sustainable, to take care of the people and the planet, but at the same time you also want to grow your company. How is that balance for you?
It's a long process. It's by going back and investing back into the production to make the quality higher for the people working there, making sure that everyone is paid a fair wages. It's making sure that how they're shipped is CO2 neutral. It's the small thing. So it's a continuous way of working every day, trying to be more and more sustainable, more and more circular. So for me, producing more things out into the world, I think I felt obligated to do it in a way that was gentle to the world. And I wanted KINRADEN to be the conscious choice. There's so many beautiful jewelry lines around the world. It's a very conservative business in general. So doing something new, introducing a new material, as we did with the wood, has been difficult and a journey, honestly. But more and more, it's getting more clear that people, the customers, the end user, is asking the important questions. How is it produced? Who is working on it? How do you transport it? Do you reuse it? Can I keep it? Is it longevity? Things like that.
Is the demand coming from the consumer, or is it coming from retailers? In
Consumers.
your perspective? Consumers.
And not enough, but it's starting. It's much, much more. When I started in 2014, people were like, why? Is it old teeth you're using? Things like that. So now it's like, of course, thank you. Thank you for doing it. So there's definitely a mental shift. Corona was a big help, actually.
Oh yes, yeah. So you felt a shift in Corona?
Definitely. People were more cautious. How they bought their patterns. I think the pause that COVID gave us maybe had people stopping up, thinking about their life and how they used it. What do they want to surround themselves with and things like that. Yeah, definitely shift.
You sell in Scandinavian countries, but you also sell outside of Scandinavia.
Yeah.
Do you see that the Scandinavian consumer is ahead of other countries, or don't you see difference?
There's definitely a big trend in Scandinavia around sustainability. I think we are quite ahead. But it's just as much a concern in the States, in UK or in Japan, for that matter. And I think people buying into my collections have made that choice. Yeah. But I think still that people are looking at first of the design, then the price, and then sustainability. But I think the price and sustainability are balancing more than they used to.
We were talking about the metals. For instance, one of the choices that you've made, you don't work with diamonds, because the diamond industry, the mining of diamonds is not sustainable. And you've developed something very interesting. Tell me if I pronounce it right, Empingo Blackwood.
Yes.
Could you explain a little bit
Yes.
what it is?
I love stones. I think they're beautiful. But in terms of the values that we surrounded KINRADEN with, it was difficult to find anything that had these values embedded in their productions. So I searched and searched and searched. And then I came upon this wood, which is actually from a forest in north of Tanzania. It's bought by WWF and FSC, so it's closed down, and the only thing that they can use the wood for is wind instruments. So it's classical instruments like an oboe or a clarinet, or the pieces in the mouth for a saxophone, things like that. And looking at these instruments and how they interact with metals when they put the flaps on, how you play. I played as a young kid, so I know that when you play in wind instruments, you spit a lot. And when it gets wet, because of the density of the wood, the sound doesn't alter, so you can play these beautiful things. And the oboe is my favorite classical instrument. I think it's so beautiful. So combining these two things, because the precision you need to be able to do to combine the metal and make the music, I thought that's interesting, because a diamond, a classical diamond, is actually a wood that turns to cold, which under pressure and millions of years turns to stone and can be cut into a diamond. So I thought maybe this was like finding the youngest form of a diamond. So I got a piece of wood, I took it home, and I went around asking people if it was possible to cut it like a diamond. And everyone said no, it would splinter, it couldn't be. So I did my own cuts in 3D, and I asked the cutter to do it. And it could be done. It didn't splinter.
And it looks like a diamond.
And it looks like a diamond, yeah. It's beautiful. And then I was like, this is amazing. This is how I can, this is the ground-like DNA for KINRADEN. That I took something so traditional, turned it into a new material, and then tried to do it in a very traditional but in a new way. And in terms of the wood, that we can't buy it, but it's actually upcycled, not recycled. It's upcycled wood because it's the leftovers from the production of the industry of the instruments.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's interesting. Another part, we can't go into every part of your sustainability strategy, but another part that I find very interesting, and I see a lot of brands struggle with that, it's the whole packaging.
Yeah.
It's very important.
Yes.
Gifting is very important
Yes.
in jewelry.
Yes.
How do you make circular packaging for jewelry?
It's been a huge discussion, because when you buy expensive jewelry, you have this whole unpacking situation. First of all our packaging is FSC certified paper. So we had that was done, that was the easy part. But again, then I wanted to limit it and not do double wrapping in terms of sending it, in terms of unwrapping it. So of course I have small boxes, but I made I tried to keep it as simple as possible. And I think my background as an architect was good, because we love systems. So I did only one box that actually could be used to everything. So I tried to simplify it, but we actually place a small card explaining why we don't double wrap, why we don't double pack. So when you unwrap your KINRADEN jewelry, you will have a small note saying congratulations with the jewelry, and then please that we don't use as much packaging as normal, but it's to leave the least dent on nature. So that's how we came above it. But it is It is challenging, especially for our retail clients, but when you explain it, people are like, of course.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense to them. No,
And then
totally.
I also added the thing that I think a lot of jewelry brands actually do, that you can reuse all the boxes. So you can like stack them and keep other things in it as well.
One of the critics I often get when I talk about the care principles is that they say, yes, but taking extra care for people and planet, it costs money, and that is feasible for companies who have expensive products. It doesn't work for companies who have average priced products. I do have some counter examples of that, but what is your opinion on that? Is it easier when you have a higher profit or a higher margin?
No. First of all, when you start a company, if it would be easy, everyone would do it. It's extremely hard. It's a competitive, the jewelry business is super, super competitive. So just starting a brand in that environment and also doing it at a high price point and sustainable makes the journey even harder, because we're suddenly comparing and competing with like Cartier, very high-end Tiffany's brands, because we pay wages, because we use sustainable materials. So of course that's more expensive. And so people like, why are you like some of your products a little bit more expensive than others? It's because we care. So it has been a really tough journey, but I think because of new rules and registrations within the EU, it's now like, I think we're all going to change in 5 years anyway. So I hope that doing this just prepared me for going into the next 10 years. And I think as a customer in general, end user, you need to think about how you buy and why you buy, especially the why. I was doing a lecture at a high school in Copenhagen here last week, talking about sustainable business. And I looked out, there were 50 students, and I said, do you know how your clothes is produced? Do you know how they can produce this? Just take a t-shirt and then count backwards. How much does it cost to produce the fabric? How much does it cost to sew it? How much does it cost to ship it? And so on and so on. You have to rent the store, you have to sell it, and then it costs 50 kroners. Does that make sense? Somewhere along the line, someone didn't get paid. It's just a small calculation. And if we can teach the end users to like just think more productive or criticism, or be naturally curious on how things are produced, I actually think it will change. And I think we're in luck, because the young generation, the sets, they are so critical. They are asking all the right questions, and with all the good reasons. They're the first generations growing up in a world where they're not sure that their grandkids are. It's possible for them to live on the planet. We don't know how it's going to look in 20 years and 25 years. We know there's going to be consequences. So they're pushing a whole different agenda, and they don't have time for us, to sit around and figure out what to do. So they're pushing a whole different agenda, and they're asking the right questions. So that, combined with a sustainable and circular mindset, I think the future is positive. I just think that we, as the elder generations, I'm turning 50, I think we should be more humble and curious, and look at the young people and look at our own habits and how we live. I think it will be good, but it will be tough for us, not for them.
And take some responsibility, I guess.
Exactly.
Last question, Sarah, because we're running out of time. What can others learn from you? What tips or insights can you give? What can others copy from KINRADEN?
Please copy as much as you can. We are open sourced. I think that one of the things I've been very open with is how we produce, where we get our metals from, how we work. Because in the community of architects, when we find a supplier doing something fantastic, creating a new sustainable product, we share it. We share all our knowledge so we can work faster and more efficient. In the fashion industry, people don't share. They sit on their hands or are very closed down. So I want a more open, because all our designs are our own. So I think it's important just to share more information.
Yes,
Yeah.
great. Great last concern, but we will talk more in the second episode. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, and take care.
Want to create lasting impact with your brand while feeding sustainable growth? Check out thecareprinciples.com and see how we can help you. 16 Minutes of Care is an independent production from Isabel Verstraeten, brand strategist, founder of the Care Principles, and author of the book, Does Your Brand Care? Help us reach more companies who are looking for caring and sustainable growth by giving this podcast all the stars it deserves and by sharing it in your network. Thank you and take care.